welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'm Rye, and this is Rye's Reading Corner, and today we have another Unhaul challenge. Again, hello, I'm Rye, and this is Rye's Reading Corner. If this is the first time you're seeing my face, if you've not hit the subscribe button, please do so. It's super easy and really helps my channel grow. So as you can tell by my thumbnail, my little introduction, today I have another Unhaul challenge for you. If you're new to my channel, I do some Unhaul challenges, and this round was my Patreon Unhaul challenge. I do have my own Patreon, Rye's Flower Garden, so if you ever want to check that out, I always have the link down in the description box. So what we did is we went on live one night, and we went through every single one of my bookshelves and went through the books and decided if I should haul them or unhaul them. If it had at least majority of people telling me that I should unhaul that book, we unhauled it. So I started off with, they told me I needed to unhaul 12 books. I was doing really well that they bumped it up to 20, and they said that if I hit that mark of 20 books, then when I play TBR Jenga, I do not have to re-pick my books if the tower falls. That's how I pick my books every month, and we're gonna see today if I did that or not. So these books are a combination of things that just I have not been inclined to read and I've lost interest in over time, or they were books that I have lost interest, or they are books that were not my favorite books, maybe like a 3-star rating, things that I just don't love and don't want to keep on my shelf. I'm gonna not go into too much detail about these books. I'll just kind of tell you the book, maybe like a reason or two of why I'm unhauling them, and then at the end, let's see if I met my challenge, if I met my Patreon's Unhaul challenge. So the first book I'm unhauling is What Souls Are Made Of by Tasha Suri. This is a book I actually got after my Patreon's Unhaul challenge. This was the book for the unplugged book box that I'm a rep for, and it is something that I'm not super interested in. I've actually already posted and sold this on Pango Books, so I will be shipping this out as pretty much as soon as this video is over. I don't really know too much about it. It just didn't spark my interest, so I decided to get rid of it. The next one was a book that was a 3-star read for me. I didn't love it, but I kind of been holding on to it because I just love the shade of purple. But I have other books now that are similar to this shade, so it's time to get rid of it. And it's Second First Impressions by Sally Thorne. I really enjoyed the Hagan game, so I had really high expectations for this. This was, I think, their most recent book. However, it just didn't do it for me, and I was kind of bored through this book, so it's time that I get rid of this one. All right, the next one was the book that I had first originally DNF'd, and then I kept it, and I gave it 3 stars. My Patreon said I needed to unhaul it because they knew that I struggled reading this book, some of my friends that are on there, and this is Darling by Kay Ancrum. This is a Peter Pan retelling, but it's not fantastical at all. It's very gritty. It takes place, I want to maybe in New York City in like the underground world type thing. I'm gonna DNF it. I kept it because the cover was really pretty. The next book is a book that I got and didn't even read, but everyone on my Patreon said that they've not heard great things about it, so I'm gonna unfortunately unhaul it, and that's Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky by Kwame Mabalia. I got this for the Avengers Readathon. I believe it was one of their monthly books. I didn't get to it that month, and Bree didn't like this, and everyone's talking about how Gavin didn't like it, so we're just going to get rid of it. The next one was a book that I got from a used bookstore. I pretty much got it because it was a signed edition, but I haven't been gravitating towards YA as much, and this author writes adult stuff, and I think that's the stuff that I would prefer to read, so my Patreons told me to get rid of it. So we are, and this is The Love That Spilt the World by Emily Henry. This is like a brand new copy. Like I said, it is a signed edition, which was why I purchased it to begin with. I am a sucker for a signed edition book, but it is time that I get rid of it. I'm not going to read it. I have not gravitated towards it since I bought it. The next book is Lisa Gardner's Right Behind You. This is a thriller. I've read some of Lisa Gardner's books before. I got this at a garage sale, pretty cheap. I think I actually got it for free. I have not really gravitated toward this at all since I've bought it, and Lisa Gardner's books, you can buy them relatively cheap. If I do want to read more of them, I can get them off Pango Book, and this is just taking up room on my shelf for other thrillers that I'm more excited about, so we decided to get rid of this one. The next one is Love and Other Disasters by Anita Kelly. This one hurts me to put on there, and I was really reluctant to put it on there, but my Patreons told me I needed to unhaul it. This book I tried to read last month, which was a really hard reading month for me in general, and I softly DNF'd this one. I was struggling with some plot gaps and holes in this story, and it made me really sad because I really wanted to like this one. However, for one, I do not like my romances in hardback, so if I do want to give this book another try, I'm gonna 100% buy it in paperback, and I'm gonna hopefully will like it better. I know that doesn't make sense because it's the same book, just a different format, but it being in hardback hardback was really throwing me off, so I'm gonna unhaul it and then eventually buy it in paperback. The next one is another book of the month book. We went through all my book of the month books, so I'm actually gonna have a book of the month shelf. So that was kind of the first place that we started when we were doing my Patreon unhaul challenge. And this one is One Day in December by Josie. I just have no interest in this book. I hauled it kind of because I was looking for more Christmas reads, and I got a lot of Christmas books last year and I didn't even gravitate towards this one, so I think it's time that I get rid of it. The next one is one that I bought because, for one, the cover was really pretty, and two, I wanted to give this author another try. However, Mel from Mel and I Reads has been telling me to just unhaul it before I even read it, and everyone on Patreon told me just to get rid of it, and this is The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. This is literally brand new, never read, never even like opened, so I'm gonna, like I said, I will be selling these all on Pingo Book, so hopefully someone will get this book and will actually enjoy a brand new hardback book. The next book is Karen Slaughter's The Good Girl. So we were talking about in my Patreon live that day, like different books that are like no-goes for me, and one of them is school shootings. I used to be able to read books about them. One of my favorite books is about them, but due to the recent things, being a mom now, and obviously I work in a school, it's just I cannot read books about them. It really makes my mental health not good. And someone said that this has something about a school shooting, so I need to just get rid of this one because I am not going to read it. Okay, so the next one is a book that I got from a little free library. It's a literary fiction, just not something I'm going to read, and it is Ask Again Yes by Mary Beth Heen. I don't even know what it's about. I just got it. I'm not gonna lie. I literally don't know nothing about it. The next book is a book I've not read. I've been holding on to it because it's another signed edition. I like some of the author's other work, but again, I've heard nothing good about it. Patreon said you need to get rid of this, and this is Lore by Alexander Bracken. This is a signed copy of it, so pretty nice, but I'm not gonna read it. I'm not huge into Greek mythology retelling, and that's kind of the basis for this story, so I just don't think this one's going to be for me. The next one is another book of the month book that I am going to unhaul, and that's Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. This is a YA fantasy series, and I had someone tell me that I needed to unhaul this before I even did the Patreon unhaul. We were talking about it on another live, and they're like, get rid of this one now, and so it was kind of the overwhelming sense that I just needed to unhaul this one, so we're gonna just get rid of it. The next one is another book of the month book. So I really cleansed out my book of the month books, believe it or not, though I still have tons of them, and this is Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Marina Garcia. This is a book that I had DNF'd. I struggled with the writing style. It just wasn't for me, so I think it's just time to unhaul it. The next book is a book I've been holding on for a really long time. I had gotten it with a Once Upon a Book Club or book box, something like that, and it's where like you read the book and then there's like gifts that go along with it, and it has something of the book, and I've been keeping like a hold on to this for almost probably a year and a half, almost 2 years, and I haven't read it. I've actually already opened the gifts that went with it because I needed to make room and I need to get rid of the box. And this is Miss Meteor by Thaler K. Miha and Anna Marie McLemore. It's like a beauty pageant. I believe someone said it's queer, but I just haven't gravitated towards it, so I think it's just time for me to get rid of it. The next book is a book that I bought from, I think, Marshall's, and there's literally nothing wrong with it. I just know I'm not going to read it. It's nonfiction, and I just don't gravitate towards nonfiction, and if I do gravitate towards nonfiction, it's not this type of nonfiction, and so it is Becoming Michelle Obama, adapted for the young readers. I'm just not gonna read it, and it's a big book to take up room in my bookshelf, so it's time I just unhaul it. The next one is Something in the Water by Catherine Steedman. This is a thriller. I know nothing about this one. Riley Sager did blurb it, that's why I've been kind of holding on to it, but I'm just not gonna read it, so we decided we were gonna get rid of it. The next one is Ash Princess by Laura Sebastian. This is another YA fantasy. I believe it's like a chosen one trope. I've had this since I've started BookTube, and it's time for me to unhaul it. I haven't picked it up. I want to say I used it for a video that I was going to try film, and I read the first chapter and it didn't win like between other YA fantasy books, so I just think I'm not going to be gravitating towards it. The next one is That's Not What Happened by Cody Keplinger. We decided to unhaul this one because it is based off a school shooting. That's just pretty much the basis right there. The next one is Whisper Man by Alex North. So again, I think this is what we were talking about. Like we were talking about like what are like some big no-nos for you in a book, and this one I know it's really good, but it talks about a child being taken like from their windows or something like that, and that's something I can't do as a parent, so, and that's like a fear of mine, so it's not an option for me to read it. The next one is another literary fiction book that I got from a little free library, and my Patreons overwhelmingly said I need to unhaul it, that I will probably not like it, and it is Sally Rooney's Conversation with Friends. I really feel like people either really love Sally Rooney or they are not a fan of it, so I think this one is just, I'm not going to gravitate towards it. I don't read much literary fiction, I would say, so I think it's just, I need to get rid of it. The next one is When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. This is like I don't even really know, like people say that it is not really a thriller, but I think it's marketed as a thriller, and the premise of it is just not something that I'm gravitating towards anymore, especially in like thriller or not thriller. I don't even know what you want to classify this, but I just don't think it's something that I'm going to be picking up anytime soon, so I think it's just time for me to get rid of it. The next book hurts me a little bit too. I've attempted to start this book, but I never finished it, or I put it down every time I started to. I've had this on lots of TBRs, and my Patreon said that it was just an average book, that I wouldn't be missing out on anything if I got rid of it. And it says Saw Kill Girls by Claire Legrand. This is super queer, which is why I've been holding on to it, I think, for quite some time, but I've had this since I've started book 2, which was 2 years ago, and I just haven't read it yet, so I think it's time I get rid of it. The next one is a fantasy book that I really wanted to read, but I've literally heard nothing great about it. It has a really low score on Goodreads, which I don't always necessarily go by, but Patreon overwhelmingly was like, just get rid of it. And this is Witches Steeped in Gold by Sienna Smart. This is a really chunky YA fantasy. I believe the sequel just came out not that long ago, but people are saying it's not worth me holding on to. It takes up a lot of room on my shelf, so we're just gonna get rid of it. The next one is The Unpopular Vote by Jasper Sanchez. This is a book that I've had for quite some time. I've never gravitated towards it. I've never put it on a TBR, so they decided it was time for me to let it go, and I agree with this one. I agree. I need to get rid of it. The next one is Watch Us Rise by Renee Watson, Ellen Hagan, and this is one again that I've had since I've started book 2. YA is not something that I'm super gravitating towards anymore. I feel like I've maybe reached that time where I need to like separate from YA. Don't get me wrong, I've still read YA this year, and I've absolutely loved some of the YA that I've read, but it's definitely the numbers of reading YA has gone down in the past year, I would say. So I think this is something that I just need to part with and get rid of. The next one is a book that I got from Unplugged Book Box, so it is signed. Unfortunately though, it was sent damaged to me. I'm not going to sell it for much on Pango Books, but it's City of Dusk by Tara Sim. This was an unofficial official book club book for the late night crew. Mel and Cassidy finished it, didn't like it. They wish they had DNF'd it. I had read, I want to say 40 pages of it, but again, I was in a really weird reading mood in June, so I had soft DNF'd it. I just wasn't vibing with it, and they said I made the right decision not to read it. So we're just gonna unhaul it, and most of the people that read it weren't loving it either, so I think that was a good decision not to finish it. The next one is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin L. Sanas. This I know is probably really controversial. I liked this book. I think I gave it 3 or 4 stars. However, it's a book that I'm just not going to read again. Also, I know that the sequel is coming out, and I have not been inclined once to pick up that sequel, and so to me that's a sign that like I'm just not going to continue with the series. So for me, I think I'm just going to unhaul this one, and my Patreon definitely agreed with that one, so they were like on board with that one. The next book is a book that I just got like when I ran to the grocery store at work, and it was $5, and it was an impulse buy, and I have no desire to read it, and it is Yes, No, Maybe So by Becky Albertalli, and the name unfortunately is, there's a lovely sticker, but Asha. Like I said, this is a straight impulse buy. I have no desire to read it, so we're just going to get rid of it. The next book is another book from Unplugged Book Box, and it came in the one of the adult ones, and this was really talked about Unpopular when Bridgerton, the new season Bridgerton came out, and this was advertised in like the stores that it is, if you liked Bridgerton, you should read this book. And I have not watched Bridgerton. I have no desire to read Bridgerton, so I really have no desire to read this book. And it's Redemption by Lex Croucher, and this is kind of cool because it is a different color of the book. I think the original book is like a light blue, but Unplugged Book Box did a purple cover. So I unfortunately don't have any desire to read this one. I don't know if it is signed. It does have a letter to the reader in the front of it, which is kind of cool. All right, the next one is The Two Lives of Lydia Bird by Josie Silver. This is again a book I got from a little free library. I heard this is super sad, and that was why I decided to unhaul it. Very weird reason to me, but I just didn't really want a very sad book on my TBR. The next one is Lisa Gardner, Never Tell, and this is a thriller I got from I think a garage sale. Again, Lisa Gardner, I've read her books before. I just have never been inclined to pick this up, and I believe this is like a domestic one, and I don't like domestic thrillers that don't gravitate towards them, so I just think it's time for me to get rid of it, and Patreon agreed. The next one is The Meet Cute Club by Jack Harbin. This was one that I wasn't sure about unhauling, but everyone on my Patreon was like, you didn't love this book, it was average for you, so I decided I agree and I needed to get rid of it. This is a male romance story that takes place like in a bookstore, which I really liked. It's very short, and I just was missing some things for me, so they decided to have me unhaul it, and I agreed with this one. I needed that extra push from them, which is why I loved doing this unhaul challenge. The next one is Meet Cute Diary by Emory Lee. This was a book that came out, I want to say last year around June, and it sounded really good. People were really excited about it, but it has let down many people that I know and trust. I heard that the rep is not great in this book, and it just is a really low score on Goodreads, so I have had not inclined to pick this up, so I feel like I just need to get rid of it. I'm not going to read it. All right, we're almost there. So the next one is a holiday romance that I bought last year. Never read it, but people that read it in my Patreon said that it was nothing great, and I should just get rid of it because it's taking up space on my bookshelves, and that is Always in December Unpopular by Emily Stone. I don't know anything about this, but we're just gonna get rid of it because I trust the Patreon. I trust the process. All right, the next one is a book I've been holding on to for a very long time because it was a gift from a friend, and I don't like this book really. I've talked about it many times, and it is Bunny by Mona Awad. So I will be unhauling this one. Hurts me a little bit. I had actually originally DNF'd this book. I did read it a second time and finished it, and I still to this day don't really know what I read, but I know some people love Bunny, and people love it or they hate it. I didn't like hate it, like it's not like despised, but I really didn't like it, so it's time for me to get rid of it. The next one is Fantastic Land, and this is by Mike Bakoven. I read this for a vlog that will be coming out relatively soon. It is a horror story that takes place like at an amusement park. That's how it's marketed. I guess went in thinking it was gonna be one thing, and it kind of came out to be very different, so I would recommend the audiobook if you want to try Fantastic Land, and then if you like that, perhaps buy the book. All right, the next two. This one I was like not gonna unhaul it because the book is so pretty itself, but I did not like the ARC version. I had it, and people were like, you rant about this book all the time, you need to unhaul it. And this is I Kissed Shara Wheeler, and this is by Casey McQuiston. This is their newest book. It's their YA debut. I didn't love this book, but I don't think I was set up to like this book because it's very similar to Looking for Alaska by John Green, which I do not like that story either, or the author, so I was already destined not to like this. But I love this spine. It's absolutely gorgeous, which was why I was almost going to keep it, but I need to get rid of it. And the last book is What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. This is the author of They Both Die at the End of the World. I got this at a used bookstore. I literally picked up because the signed first edition. I'm just not going to gravitate towards this. I haven't gravitated towards it, but since I really liked the spine of it, so that's why I've been holding on to it. As you can tell, I did meet my challenge. I've unhauled 40 plus books since from the Patreon unhaul challenge. It was really good. They couldn't believe how well I was doing. It was nice to have someone push me that extra push that I needed to unhaul books that I've been holding on to for too long, and I got all of my brand new books with extra space on my bookshelves. So I am planning on maybe doing a bookshelf tour, a new one, once I move my bookshelves to the new location, so stay tuned for that. So let me know what's the last book that you unhauled. I would love to know because I was very difficult, but it felt very good at the same time, if that makes sense. So if you want to take this crazy and chaotic journey with me, please make sure you press the subscribe button. If you're my friend on any of my other social media platforms, I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Also, I have my own Patreon. Like I said, obviously this whole video was pretty much about my Patreon. That link is down below, so stay kind of loves. I'll see you next time. Bye.